All right. So I'm really smiling a lot right now because this is my 10th or 12th take to make this elevator speech about IEPs and BIPs for week 7. I am trying very hard not to go into mom mode while I'm talking about IEPs. So hopefully this one will do it. All right. An individual education program, IEP. It is an individualized and legal document that meets the unique needs of a child with disability. In my opinion, it also serves as a contract between schools and families. And sometimes even more than that, it's a promise to that student to provide them access to the general education curriculum and some extracurricular activities for students with disabilities. It also ensures that the student is provided with the appropriate accommodations or modifications and other supports that the student may need to be successful in school. Like I said, it's a promise. Like, I cannot stress enough how important the IEP is to students and their families. It defines what is appropriate in a student's right to a free and appropriate public education. The IEP is updated every academic year, although sometimes before that, I've had lots of times where I've called an IEP meeting before the academic year. I've called for amendments to be made to the IEP several times in the last nearly 10 years of advocating for my son. So there, I'm doing it. I'm going into mom mode. I apologize. The IEP serves students ages 3 to 21 that qualify for special education under one of the 13 disability categories, which negatively impacts the education performance of that student. The IEP is developed by the IEP team, students, parents, guardians. Team members include the general and special education teachers, school psychologist, the local education agency, or LEA, which is a very good friend of mine on my IEP team for Ian. Speech and other specialists like OT, PT, sometimes ABA, depends on the student's needs, and sometimes an advocate. I have a very dear friend of mine who is our advocate for Ian, and she's been with us a long time, and she still comes to IEP meetings, and we still advocate for Ian. All right, the parts of the IEP, the identifying information, the demographic, the considerations for special factors. This is an important part of the IEP for me because this is the part that pertains to assistive technology as well. This is often overlooked, but I took an assistive technology course a year or two ago and became very informed about the usefulness of this section and have advocated for assistive technology for Ian in the classroom. And as I'm writing IEPs, I'm going to always consider that as well for my future students. But these areas are very specific to students' needs. And what we just worked on for this module, the present levels of performance, the measurable goals, the objectives and benchmarks, the reporting progress to families, which is also very important, and the accommodations which level the playing field or the modifications which change the playing field. Again, I'm a very big advocate for this particular part of the IEP, especially the accommodations, because I've experienced years where the accommodations didn't make the IEP, and so I had to call and take up people's time and make amendments to IEPs. Anyway, then again, the normal school years of service, The assessment participation, which is also important because those, again, that's where the accommodations come into play for those assessments, and the least restrictive environment and extended school year. All right, so the behavioral intervention plan, the BIP. And when I've mentioned BIP before in the school setting, it's almost like it's a negative thing, and I really don't get why, because it provides additional support after the functional behavioral assessment determines that it's needed. Um, uh, it documents the interventions and strategies that are needed for the student, um, and all that's required a functional behavioral assessment. So if it's determined that the student needs these supports, then we need to do the paperwork. I'm, I don't know how else to say it. And the BIP parts include the target behavior, the function of the behavior. As we know, there's function, always a function. What is the trigger or the antecedent for the behavior? The replacement behavior, then the strategies that reinforce that replacement behavior, the crisis plan for when you have to attend to the crisis level situation for a student. What do you do then? There needs to be a plan. And what data collection methods are going to be used, and then the staff considerations, like who needs training. And I feel very confident in saying that we probably need a lot more training, and staff may need more training to um, help our students that have the behavioral intervention plans. So yeah, I'm sorry I went into mom mode a little bit more than usual on this one. Like I said, I think I think this take worked. So I hope you enjoy my elevator speech. Thanks so much.